How are we doing today? It is a beautiful day to talk sports. More specifically, it is a beautiful day to start a whole new. This is the premiere of a new project. And you know what? I don't even know why I'm bringing him in like he's a guest. He's the co host over here.
Woo!
It's me, myself, Bars, and the man, Jake O'Dowd. And we're excited to bring to you a Bunts and Bruises production. We don't have all the setup yet. It's going to be on Apple Podcasts, it's going to be on Spotify, but we're bringing you the first episode ever of the Blue Bodega, the big Blue Bodega. My apologies. We're still working on it. Like I said, it's there's a lot of moving parts here, but I am excited to bring to you this new project. It is a strictly New York Giants podcast. As you guys know, I am a huge Giants fan. Jake, as well, is one of the biggest Giants fans I know, and it's there's so much to talk about, especially with the new regime going on here, Jake. And honestly, just how are you doing today, bud?
I'm doing fantastic. It's an honor to be here. I'm really happy to go over what we got going on today. I'm really excited for the future of the Giants, and I'm itching to get the season going and get into training camp and just see what we really got in these guys.
Yeah, man. It was a stellar day one draft. It was a little bit of a roller coaster, some people would say, because we started real high. And then all of a sudden, day two, the first pick was looking a little questionable. How it started off, there was a lot of movement going on. I actually tweeted we were no shot keeping the 36th pick. So I was not right once, but I was right twice because we traded it back twice. But unfortunately, it seems like the pick we made there, not a lot of people are happy with. I'm not too upset about it. I understand why people are mad about it, but there is some hope you could have there. But other than that, before we really dive deep into this draft and each individual player, we will be grading them. Jake, what I really want to know is what's your overall thoughts about this draft? How do you think about the process? Did you like the whole scheme that Joe Shane and Dable came in with? Do you think we, at the end of the day, without giving your grade, because we'll give the whole overall draft grades at the end of the episode, but did you feel good coming out of the draft after day three when it was all said and done?
I feel good mainly because I'm so excited for the future and what this draft kind of did and how it sets us up. We got 11 new guys, 11 picks we had, you know what I mean? So we have a lot more depth coming into this year, and I feel like the focus was the future for us. Like this still isn't Brian Dabble's or Joe Shane's team, and we still have a lot of players from the Gettleman regime that I think as over time we're going to try to get rid of them if they don't fit and if they kind of don't work and what they're kind of building. These are two guys that we had from Buffalo that helped build a franchise and one of the better teams in the NFL. They understand the importance of a culture and the proper environment and getting your guys that you can kind of develop and be plug and play players all over the field. And I feel that's what they did this draft with the focus of the future. I think they know this year they're not going to be they're not contending for a Super Bowl this year. They don't know what they have in Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones isn't their guy. You know what I mean? And I'm glad they didn't force a quarterback here because it's not right. And
Oh,
we finally have addressed the offensive line, which I mean we've been promised for years and never actually have done it. Now we have a whole new offensive line. I have like 9 new offensive line people that were in all the roster last season. So this is fantastic. It was a fantastic draft for me.
let me tell you, you mentioned the quarterback, man. I was really scared because there was a lot of Giants fans in particular who were screaming that they wanted Malik Willis at some point, either in the second round or if he dropped to the third round, even the third round, which if he was the third round pick, I might have considered it. But if you're talking about the number 36 pick and you want to draft Malik Willis, like there's a reason he didn't end up in the first round. And there's a reason why the teams we even traded with when we traded the pick back twice still skipped on him. So why would we take him when, like you said, yes, I'm not a Daniel Jones fan anymore. I still believe there's talent there. Now, was the talent beat out of him already? Who knows? We're gonna find out. Maybe this year he unlocks something. If he has a good year and we didn't pick up that fifth year option, so be it. I'm not even mad. Pay the kid a little extra, but I'd rather not be tied into Daniel Jones for an additional fifth year. So the fact that we have Daniel Jones, who I guess you could say is our bridge quarterback this year, he has a terrible season, like most people really think he's going to have, me included, because I have 2 feet fully off the Daniel Jones bandwagon, fully off. But if he has a great year, or if he has such a bad year like everyone thinks he's going to have, we're going to be another top pick in a better quarterback draft. It's a little more quarterback heavy. That's what they said about this year's draft. But, it's a crapshoot every year. So if we end up in that high range, we could go for the quarterback, or free agency is crazy. Look what happened over this summer. Deshaun Watson's on a different team. Russell Wilson's on a different team. Matt Ryan's on a different team. You name it, quarterbacks retired, signed to different teams, got traded. Everything was happening. So I'm really glad that we didn't go Malik Willis there. But like you said, overall, this draft, I really like the depth we got. Because when at the end of day three, I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't keeping up with all the day three picks. Who really does? After day two, I'm checked out. I don't know about you, bud.
uh,
But after the day three, I saw a post from their Instagram, and it said that the Giants had drafted 11 players onto the roster. And that alone right there made me go, we had a hell of a draft, because that's exactly what you needed. How many times, time and time again, bud, has it been we have one player from a draft like 4 years ago? And always, me and you always say, that's why we're terrible. We have no depth, because the moment one starter gets hurt, it's a wrap. Even if the starter doesn't get hurt, we have no versatility because we have no depth. It was a never ending cycle. So to see that we ended up with 11 players who, yes, like you said, all of them are not going to be day one starters, but you don't need those all day one starters from a draft. You want those project players. 4 picks in the 5th round specifically. Those are golden ticket picks usually. You get one good diamond in the rough in the 5th round. Most of the time, it's a Hall of Fame player. I'm pretty sure Antonio Brown was drafted in the 5th round. Correct me if I'm wrong.
I'm not too sure about the Antonio Brown, but it's like you can tell the difference between the last regime, who kept trying to rebuild so and so, more like retool and kind of compete, where you can see this regime wants to fade out the last regime kind of players, and they want to bring in their own. The way to do that is through the draft, and this was a great example of it. With 11 picks, like you said, to develop this talent and kind of bring them up is going to be what they're going to be their main focus over the next year, 2 years. And like you said, I mean, I don't think it's tanking. I think it is more of a kind of a rebuild method. You need to get your guys, and you need them to play your schemes and your environment with your culture. And I think that's what they do here. And I think that's what they're going to continue to do next year. So we'll see.
Yeah, man. So just my final thoughts on this was, some picks were reaches, but you know, they're building something here. There's something different going on. And it's you see why some of the picks might have been reaches, because from what I was reading and hearing, they took a lot of the players that the Bills had on their board and brought them over with them. And you can understand why, because right after the draft ended, they ended up firing 2 of the main scouts who were supposed to be like his top lieutenants. It was the college scout, and I believe it was just a pro personnel scout. And fired him immediately after the draft was over. So you can
Yeah.
understand why that Joe Shane and Dable were like, all right, let's bring some names we know and that we trust. Because why take a chance on a player that you're not even positive about, and you're trusting someone who time and time again has messed up? Albert Einstein says to keep repeating the same thing and think it's going to be different is insanity. I butchered the quote, but it was close enough. But regardless, so it was nice to see that he was making those moves, and I understand why some of these picks seem like reaches, but I have full faith in Joe Shane and Brian Dable. But without further ado, man, let's just jump right into it and get into these picks. So with the 5th overall pick, you had Sam Prince. Let me tell you, that kid was electric. He was lightning. Oh man, I was so hyped about him, jumping up and down, making that pick.
Yeah.
But
That kid's energy is off the chain. Just
oh,
crazy.
dude, the best part was I was saying it with him when he was making the pick, and I said New York Football Giants, because I always say it whenever I'm, talking about the draft or anything. I always say New York
It's
Football Giants.
prestigious.
Exactly. And I was like, kid, please tell me. Like, I was just saying it before he said. I was like, please tell me he's going to say it. And he said Football Giants, and I was like, that's right. So anyway, with the 5th overall pick, the New York Football Giants selected, and we got blessed. Because once Houston took Stingley, which I couldn't believe, but it's a very Houston move.
Very Houston move.
You knew it was either we were going to get Thibodeaux or Sauce at 5, and I was perfectly okay with either or. The Jets went Sauce, and honestly, I'm happy they went Sauce, because Thibodeaux was the player we needed. So I believe we got the number 2 pass rusher. Arguably, from what people are saying, some people don't like his demeanor. Other people do like his demeanor because they see it as like a more of a motivational tool than like, I don't care about football. But the main thing about this is we finally got our edge rush, man. We got a number one. I'm excited about it, man. It's been something that we haven't had since literally the ring back in 11. And I was jumping up and down screaming like a little girl, bro. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I was excited. It's so awesome to see. Obviously probably the top talent, overall talent in the draft, substitute you with 5. You know what I mean? He's arguably the best pass rusher. He has probably the highest floor of the other pass rushers. Maybe a lower ceiling, or a lower floor but a higher ceiling. But I mean, he's gonna be an absolute freak. He's an athletic freak for us. He probably has the best first step in the draft. I'm so excited that we're finally going to actually have two edges that can actually get to the quarterback, and instead of just Leonard Williams trying his best, because he is not a pass rusher for sure. But I love the pick in Kayvon Thibodeaux. I mean, the man's an absolute unit. He's 6'5", 54 pounds. I mean, he's got, like I said, he's got the best first step in the game. He has good bend around the sides. He's an athletic freak, to be honest.
Yeah, man. You know what I'm happy you mentioned this. You mentioned Leonard Williams, and honestly, I think Kayvon Thibodeaux having a legitimate pass rusher now, 2 pass rushers. Because let's be honest, as much as I love Ojulari, and it was good to see that we kind of had a pass rusher, you see the potential in him. But he's not a number one. You
No.
see it. But he is a real good number 2 from what it looks like. So if we could get Thibodeaux to be a legitimate number 1, which honestly I'd say the over under number, just strictly because I mean, call me crazy. It might be I'm just hopeful. I'd say it's about 8.5 over under. It's somewhere around there, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna take it at 9. I'd say he has 9 sacks for the season, just because of just pure opportunity, bro. Because we're gonna be down a lot. Let's be honest.
Oh yeah. Oh
And
yeah.
then, like you said, we have Aziz across from him, and then we have Leonard Williams, who, if Kayvon isn't getting that sack, I think we're going to see Leonard Williams of old in that one season where he had 11 sacks when we traded for him. And that was because we didn't have a legitimate pass rush, but we had one that was kind of workable with. That was the year that Marcus Goldman also had a career year in sacks, and I forgot who was across from him, but he was that pass rusher as well, had a great year. So, I mean, he could be the next great giant, Kayvon Thibodeaux, the whole lineage of great pass rushers and the swag this man brought. He said it a couple months before the draft, before even New York was a thought. He said, I want to be the next Michael Strahan. And what he meant by that is in terms of how great he is on the field and how great he is off the field. Because Michael Strahan is a rising star in the media. He had his own daytime show. Forget about it. So if this kid could end up being Michael Strahan, 80, not even there. Give me 85% on the field, man. That's a home run hit because that's a Hall of Fame player. And that's 85% of Michael Strahan is almost a Hall of Famer, if not a Hall of Famer, you know?
I think being in the wink kind of defensive scheme, the such a blitz heavy scheme, we're going to see a lot out of all of our defensive linemen this year. I think everyone's sacks numbers are going to be up, which is going to be great. Hopefully, we have the cornerbacks and the secondary to stay strong and to play that man-to-man island kind of defense. But I think he's gonna be great with Wink Martindale. It's gonna be a great fit for us. Like you said, I think one of the biggest drawbacks for people was the fact that he wanted to pursue a kind of a career outside of football. And I think that kind of reminds me of the slack Anthony Edwards got in the NBA, and kind of look with that. I mean, I think Kayvon Thibodeaux is a winner. I think he wants to make money, and I think he wants to play. And I think you'll see that from day one, because he's a day one starter, obviously.
For sure, man. We said all there is about the kid, fingers crossed, man. He's a behemoth of a man. But someone who made him look absolutely tiny when standing next to him is also on our team now. And with the number 7 overall pick, the New York Giants selected the one, the only Evan Neal from Alabama. And bro, this was the dream scenario for day one, was to end up with these 2 guys. Either that or end up trading down one of the picks and getting another significant haul. But I'll take this any day of the week. Evan Neal, 6'7", 300, and I think it's 30 pounds. He might be 40 now because he's just been bulking up since. It's already decided he's going to play on the right side of the line. We have a right tackle in God knows how long now, Jake. I can't believe it. And we have he plays in Alabama, and the biggest thing against him was his pass rush, I mean, not his pass rush, my apologies, his rush protection wasn't as good as Ikwanu's was, but Ikwanu's pass protection was as good as Evan Neal's was, man. And Evan Neal is arguably the most versatile offensive tackle out of the top three, and Ikwanu, him, and Charles Cross, because he played left, he played right, and he played guard. So to have that versatility, and it was arguable who was better between him and Cross. I'm gonna go the guy from Alabama all the time because Alabama always just gives you these statues of men, whether it's offensive or defensive line. You're always taking the guy from Alabama no matter what. So it's just arguably in the next couple of years, man, I'm excited to see. It might just be my bias coming out, but the Giants could in 3, 4 years arguably have one of the best lines, if not the best, two ends on the line in the entire league.
Yeah, I'm actually a really big fan of Evan Neal. I was a huge fan of him in college. I watched a ton of him, obviously, at Alabama. The man's a behemoth of a human being, absolute monster. I think he has the size, the skill set, and the athleticism to be a perennial all-pro tackle. I think eventually he will kick Andrew Thomas to the other side of the line because I do think he is better than Andrew Thomas. Now, he is a great pass rusher, and honestly, he was very solid in the run either way. I know the Giants had both him and Icky kind of as their 1-and-1. They could take cake in either, and they gave that a chance to Carolina. And I'm happy with Evan Neal. I think Evan Neal is the better player. I think he's obviously bigger, and I think his winning pedigree from Alabama and that pro style offense is the way to go here. Like you said, versatility is huge. He can play. He's played guard. He's played both tackle positions. This is the pick here for sure, and it was a dream scenario for the Giants. I would grade this with an A to A plus. I mean, this was a beautiful pick.
I forgot to even grade the Thibodeaux pick. I'm assuming we're both A plus.
A plus.
All right, Lieutenant got named. But I'm right with you with Evan Neal. I had Evan Neal above Ikwanu. To be honest, I like Ikwanu, but the fact that he was raw, the main thing was he was run protection was way better than his pass protection, and Evan Neal has better feet. I'm a guy where I don't know much about offensive linemen. I watch some tape, and you could tell which guys aren't coordinated, which guys are just brute strength. It's always the ones who got what they call the sweet feet. They know how to move left and right. That's what makes them agile and make them look way quicker than 6'7", 300+ pounds, you know? So Evan Neal had the sweet feet, which is what not only you could teach hands to anyone. Ikwanu, since he was raw, man, he possibly could end up better. He physically may be more of an athlete at the moment, but it's harder to teach the feet than it is to teach the hands. And Evan Neal, his one thing, like I said, was the run protection. Not even that worried about it because of how versatile he is. And so, yes, I end this also with an A plus because he was the number one offensive tackle on my board. This now, Jake, is where it gets a little bit of a roller coaster. A lot of people are very upset about this next pick. I know you definitely were upset about this next pick. And that was our day 2 pick, which, once again, the Giants traded back twice. The first time was with, do you remember, Jake? Correct me right now. I know the Falcons were one of them. I think the Falcons were the second one.
Yeah, I know the Falcons are one of them. I'm not sure how it actually went down.
That's all right.
The Vikings.
Either way. There you go. Either way, we traded with a bunch of people. And we ended up taking, in the second round, 43rd overall, Wan'Dale Robinson, wide receiver out of Kentucky. Jake, I know you're not happy with this pick, bud, so the floor is yours. Just let the people know and express what every other Giants fan currently is feeling right now.
I mean, yeah, when I saw when his name got called, I was pretty much in shock. I love the first 2 picks. I kind of love what they're doing over here. A lot of people say he's more slotted to play the Cole Beasley role in Brian Daboll's kind of offense. And I mean, he is an offensive-minded player, so he's going to want as many gadgets as possible. But at the end of the day, this is a gadget receiver. You don't draft a gadget receiver in the second round. Okay, he is 5'8", 178 pounds. He has some of the shorter arms in this whole wide receiver draft class. And other than that, George Pickens and Sky Moore were still on the board who I thought were better receivers. So to take a gadget receiver when you have somebody so similar in Kadarius Toney, it really didn't make sense to me. I mean, I guess this means you're going to trade Slade and you're kind of worried about the future of what kind of holds Sterling Shepard after his contract expires. He did have decent college production moving from Nebraska to Kentucky. He had 104 receptions last year, 1,300 yards, 7 touchdowns. And like I was saying to you earlier, he had 7 rushing attempts for 111 yards. So like I said, he's a kind of a boomer bust kind of offensive player. Get the ball in his hands in space, and he can kind of make a move, make people miss. I know he did take the top off. Was taking the top off defenses last year. I know he had a lot of long passes for receptions. I think he was like 6th in the major college football. But at the end of the day, he doesn't have blazing fast speed. He ran a 4.4 at the 40. I did not like this pick. If he's great for us. We have a gadget player that can go over the middle, maybe take the top off the defense once in a while. I don't think it'll pan out. And I think this is kind of a waste of a pick. This would be a C- in my book.
Oof, C-. That's rough. That's so rough. I was expecting in the C's, but C-. Wow, dude.
Yeah.
All right, so let me tell you, the Conor McGregor in me came out when this pick was announced. I was watching. This was actually the next pick I watched because after this pick, I just stopped watching. So this is the last pick I watched. And when they said Wan'Dale Robinson, wide receiver, Kentucky, and like you said, there was a couple guys still up there. The inner Conor McGregor came out of me, and who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah.
And I started Googling and looking up, and I was just like, I can tell you right now, I'm not feeling too happy. But then once you start thinking about the pick a little bit, I kind of understood the logic behind it. Did it make me a little happier? Not really. I mean, it was, it was like giving a kid a lollipop after getting a shot. I was still upset I got the shot, but hey, here's a little treat. And you know, if you look at it, not one of our wide receivers ended up playing 17 games last year. So we obviously needed more depth, even though we do have 4. I'm not going to say stellar wide receivers, but we have 4 serviceable wide receivers. With Kadarius Toney, in my opinion, being the one with the most talent, or the one who has the most potential to have the most talent. I call him Baby Tyreek Hill because we've seen that explosiveness from him. But like you said, 5'8", 178-pound slot receiver. It wasn't inspiring at all. A lot of people thought he was going to be there in day 3 even. But like I said earlier, I believe this is one of the picks where on the Bills board, this guy might have been higher up. And they took a lot of the picks from the Bills. Or even so, they just knew they had more homework about this guy and they felt more comfortable taking him, because why trust any of the picks that the old regime were making in the past, the old scouts. So I don't love the pick at all. You're right. It was a little bit of a reach, but if this is your guy, man, hey, you go and get your guy, because maybe we've seen it time and time again. The league knows things that us fans don't know. We assume we know it, but the league does some crazy thing, and then it's like, what's going on? And years later, you're like, oh my God, that was such a great move. So, yeah, it could be hindsight, could not be, but I'm not expecting much from Sterling Shepard. He had a torn Achilles towards the end of the year, and like you said, contract situation. They brought him back strictly for a locker room. I don't think he's really ever going to be a significant weapon ever again in the Giants uniform, if an NFL uniform again. Hope he does though. Love the guy. Darius Slayton, he might be a cut at this point, because if they cut him, his entire contract's essentially gone. He'll end up getting, I think it's $500,000. So that saves
Yeah.
us $2.5 million in cap space by cutting him.
I think they're going to have to cut him, especially with keeping James Bradbury and his market being so dry. They're going to have to cut him.
So that's why I'm kind of feeling a little better about this pick as well, because like I said, it's a position we need depth at no matter what, especially now that we don't have Evan Neal either. Evan Neal. Evan Ingram anymore. We have a better Evan, thank God. But I understand why you're probably going to end up throwing him in the slot and Kadarius Toney across from Galladay, which I kind of like Toney on the outside more. Let him use that explosiveness, give him the open field to create more instead of just a short route. So I could see something where they play together hand in hand. So
Yeah.
I don't love the pick, but I get it. I'll grade it a B-.
I mean, the pros of this pick is that you have a new head coach, you know what I mean, new offensive coordinator, Mike Kafka. You have a new head coach in Brian Dowd, both offensive-minded people. Now you have a quarterback that you really don't know what you have because he's never had an offensive line or kind of a serviceable offense. And you ran a really tight offense last year, really couldn't spread the ball out. You didn't have any time to throw. So this is giving us options to kind of space out the whole offense. and give Daniel Jones as many weapons and as many opportunities to succeed, to see what they actually have. And that's what I think they're trying to do here. And either way, they have Tyrod Taylor to back up to be that stopgap. So if we take somebody next year, well, they can ease their way into the situation, but they'll have an ample of weapons to use. So I mean, that's the pros here. But it's very hard for me to justify taking a weapon, gadget kind of receiver in the second round.
All my last point is all I'm going to say is his PFF grade. He was the number one wide receiver among SEC wide receivers. That's a tough thing. That's a
Yeah,
tough thing.
it's hard. It's hard. I mean, hey, if it works out, great for us. You know what I mean? If it doesn't, I guess I'm right. You know?
It's as simple as that. I guess I'm right. In Shane we trust, though, bud.
Yeah, right. Chain we trust.
All
Exactly.
right. So the next pick was our first pick in the third round. This was another pick that had some varying opinions. It's another guy who I kind of was like, about. I'm not sure how you feel about him, but that's North Carolina offensive tackle Joshua Isudu. I hope I said it right. Probably not. He was taken in third round, 67th overall. What I like about this pick is it's need pick. He played offensive tackle in North Carolina, but he's gonna start at left guard. Is he gonna start week one? I don't believe so, but I believe he's going to end up starting somewhere mid through the year and take over the position. It's really his to lose, kind of. He just has to play for it because his only competition I see is Max Garcia and Shane Lemieux. From what I heard about him, he has the sweet feet like Evan Neal. His main issue is his hands. He doesn't really get leverage when blocking. His run blocking is a lot worse than his pass blocking. But the one thing I loved that I heard is he played Jermaine Johnson in FSU this year, who went in the first round, obviously, and he completely dominated him in that entire matchup. He won every matchup they ended up having, and the good thing about that is you're talking about the third rated offensive edge coming out of this draft. So for the fact you're getting this guy in the third round is I think that's a great value pick. The only one thing is I've also been reading that this guy's also is a little bit of a reach pick, but he certainly wasn't as much of a reach as Wan'Dale Robinson. It's definitely a guy where if they didn't reach, he wasn't going to be there for their second, third round pick at all. How did you feel about this pick?
This isn't a sexy pick by no means, but an absolutely necessary pick for
Yeah.
us. Our last regime always wanted to bring in these offensive linemen, what they called hog mollies. They never did that. It was all failed promises. So now you're bringing in guys that, like I said, you're looking to the future. You're bringing in guys that you can kind of develop and be plug and play players. Now you sign stopgap veterans in Feliciano and Glowinski to play guards and center. So now at the end of the year, if they're lacking, he is showing promise. He will end up probably starting at right guard or left guard. Now he's 6'5", 308 pounds, so he's a large human being. He had 34-inch arms. He played both guard and tackle, and he has a giant frame. So he has the potential, if he can get his technique down and his feet all together, he has potential to be a starting caliber guard and a potential Pro Bowler. Maybe. I'm not saying anything, but he has the frame to do it. He did run a 5.140, which is something worth noting, but I love this pick. I thought this was a B. I thought, in my opinion, this was a very good pick. Now we have depth among the line. So this is what we needed.
Oh, for sure. I got it rated right there with you. B. What I like, why I think he's going to start at left guard is because we got Mark Lewinsky, I think his name
Yeah,
is.
Glowinski, I think
Yeah,
Feliciano is going to move to is playing center.
exactly. So, like you said, he's versatile. And the thing is, I love that you mentioned his 40 time. He ran that 5.1. What makes him different from what Will Hernandez was or Shane Lemieux is he's a lot more athletic. And if we're running the schemes that Buffalo and possibly what Mike Kafka is bringing from Kansas City over, you need a lot of athletic linemen because they run much more of a zone scheme. So the one thing is Isudu, he moves a lot quicker than Hernandez did. Hernandez just was big, and he didn't really get that push off to give you the best pass protection. He looked like a bright star his rookie year, let me tell you, but then it was all downhill after that. And the reason why I think Isudu is going to end up winning this draft, this job at the end of the year, is because Shane Lemieux although he has the better hands, Isudu has better what they call mirroring ability. So he knows how to follow the edge a lot more, which means that's exactly what you need. And that's why it comes from the sweet feet. You're able to slide more and work better with the pass protection. Let me ask you this one question, Jake. Who is your starting offensive line from left to right for week one?
Probably Andrew Thomas. I really don't know who we would slot in at right guard, but it'd probably be Andrew Thomas, Gawinski, Feliciano. Right guard is kind of a mystery to me, and then Evan Neal over a right tackle. I think in the immediate situation, if Isudu plays well and does well in voluntary OTAs or in a mini camp, not voluntary OTAs happen, but mini camp and all that, and in the preseason, I think he could push for a starting job. I don't think it'll happen right off the gate.
For sure. So I'm with you right there. I think it's the Zudu starting week one. I think it's going to be Max Garcia just because, they brought him in from the Bills. He knows exactly what Dable likes to run. And it's essentially until he loses the job to Isudu once they bring the kid up to speed, essentially. So, but like you said, love the pick. Shane's over here fixing what Gettleman said he would fix and never really got to. We're not even going to talk about it anymore. So we're going to move on to the next third round pick. This one, again, a little bit of a roller coaster pick. I'm talking about Cardell Flott, third round, 81st overall pick, cornerback from LSU. How did you feel about this pick? It almost felt like everyone in the draft knew the Giants were going to take this pick once the pick came up because we did skip on Booth in the second round. So, how did you feel about this pick when you heard this name?
Uh, I like the pick. I thought it was a little bit of a reach in the third round. I thought we could have waited to the fourth round, but what do I actually know? Who's on boards? But it's interesting to see. I mean, Flop played at LSU, so he played with that talent kind of in college. I mean, he's 6 foot, 175 pounds, so that's his biggest takeaway is that he's going to need to gain weight at this level. He does have long arms. I think he's more projected to kind of be a slot corner, and no way is he our James Bradbury or kind of island, our one-on-one kind of man island. Outside corner. He's not going to be that. I don't think he is that. I will say, though, do I think he has potential to be a 2-3 corner in this league, slot corner? Yeah, absolutely. I think he can be. This season, maybe not, but next year I definitely could see him starting. It's actually really funny. I was reading that him and Kadarius Toney played each other in high school. And Kadarius Toney beat him 42-7, and he was quoted as saying he was a human joystick. So that's it. Just keep worth noting.
That's where the nickname came from. Was him burning Flott? Oh man,
burning Flott. Yeah. So they're excited to get a rematch, kind of in practice. I give this out of need. I would give this a B-.
Mm-hmm. So I'm a little up and down about this pick. I want to feel good about it, but at the same time, I kind of don't. But I get it. It's kind of like it's almost exactly how I feel about Wandell. I get the pick. He's a little tiny. He is going to obviously play the nickel. He could play outside. He's actually top 50 in all of college when it came to man coverage. So I do like the fact that he's a cornerback coming out of LSU. DB fucking university right there. So, but like you said, he's not going to be the contingency plan for James Bradbury. I'm curious if this pick kind of means we're going to try and figure out a contract restructure and to somehow keep James Bradbury because Joe Shane did say he doesn't want to give him up for nothing. But if we don't figure something out soon, we might have to with the way our cap space is working.
Yeah, I don't see anybody wanting to eat his contract, let alone Adoree Jackson's $19.5 billion. So I think why are we trying to eat that? You know what I mean? Kind of just build through secondarily. That's why this was a need pick for sure.
Yeah, it was, but so let's say we cut Bradbury, man. This kid's playing the slot. You got Adoree Jackson still. Who's going to play across?
Yeah, I mean our secondary is definitely a work in progress.
Yeah,
and that's the weak part. That's going to be a struggle all year, and that's where they're hoping Flock can kind of come in, hopefully take some pressure off. But it's a need pick for sure.
Hey, the one thing I do like about him from what I saw in a couple of highlights is he's definitely got the confidence. He's a swag guy, Like if there's an incomplete pass, he'll celebrate. So
that's what you need in a corner in a DB. So
exactly. The one also fact that I heard was he played he only allowed 2 touchdowns, and one of them was to a wide receiver, and he said this wide receiver was the toughest competition he had in his entire season. Who do you think that wide receiver was?
Jameson Williams.
No, Mr. Wandale Robinson. So, maybe, hey, man, in Shane we trust, baby. In Shane we trust.
And Shane we trust.
So after that, we go to a pick that actually I like this pick. I didn't know much about the kid, but when I started reading and hearing more, I thought it was a stellar pick. You kind of saw it coming. I would have liked to take McBride earlier. I am speaking, of course, of Daniel Bellinger, tight end from San Diego State, taken in the 4th round at the 112th overall pick. This was a need. It was a guarantee we were taking a tight end in this draft. You figured it was going to be somewhere in the middle, if not in day 2, where honestly, if we took McBride instead of Wandell, I probably would have been a little happier, but that's all right. We're going to ignore that. But he's a tight end who he's not going to blow the doors off the gates, He got good burst off the line, but he doesn't have breakout speed. The thing he does have though is trusty hands. He didn't get that many catches, but he had 0 drops this year, and he had a 4% drop rate. Catch rate, imagine 4% catch rate.
Yeah, that'd be pretty upsetting.
He had a 4% drop rate throughout his entire college career. So that's a big difference from Mr. Evan Brickhands Ingram, who Trevor Lawrence is going to have the pleasure of knowing down in Jacksonville. But this kid, he's big, huge, 6'5", 253. He's a decent blocker. So I felt real good. He's a good athlete, but he's nothing fancy, but he has reliable hands. And that's almost all you want from a tight end, especially one who we haven't had a reliable tight end with hands in years. Like Evan Ingram, as good as he was, or as good as people say he was talent-wise, it just the hands were never there. When we needed him, he was good. They disappeared. The Eagles game, for example. Uh, and also the fact that he's a good pass blocker is great because we did sign Ricky Seals Jones this year, and everyone knows Ricky Seals Jones is not a blocker. So we have Ricky Seals Jones to be that hybrid receiver tight end. And we have this kid who I think he should be a week 1 starter. Just give him the reps because I really think, like every other pick, he's more of a developmental player. But I could see him being a great tight end 2-3 years down the line. One of the best in the league, like overall complete tight end, not just receiver wise.
I think what he brings to the table is kind of what Evan Ingram was the opposite of Evan Ingram. Evan Ingram was a horrible blocker. Danny Bellinger's a block first tight end who's going to be help and aid a very needy line. Like you say, he's a massive human being, 6'5", 250 pounds. It's an absolute mammoth of a human being, especially a tight end. He's very athletic for that size, and he can get up and down the field. They really didn't use him as a kind of a pass catcher, more to say, but like you said, when they did throw the ball to him, he did catch the ball, which is more than we can say about Evan Ingram. So this is going to be a nice pick to see kind of what he develops into over the years. Obviously, we weren't content with Ricky Seals Jones and Keem, so this is a good pick. I have it a B minus. So I like this pick. I think it's great for the future, and he brings something to this offense we haven't had in a while, and that's a reliable blocking tight end. So.
For sure, man. Did I give my grade on him? I give him a B.
I don't think so.
I think I'm being super biased because all my grade picks have been Bs. But hey, man, it's a Giants podcast. What can I do? I'm trying my best here. I'm biased everywhere else when it comes to my Giants, but I know I'm biased. That's the difference. I'll know when I'm really bad. But regardless, I'm giving the facts, and that's why I give a B. So we have our next 4th round pick, selected only 2 picks later, and that is Iowa safety Dane Belton. And I didn't really know much about the kid until I started doing my research. But it was a position of need, I believe, because we did release Logan Ryan, whether it was due to cap reasons or just the fact that he was injury prone, or maybe it's because he was one of Joe Judge's guys. If that's the reason, that's kind of crazy. But I was a big Logan Ryan fan, but I did understand why he got cut. So the fact that we only have 2 safeties now, it was kind of an urgency. This was definitely a need pick. How did you feel? Have you ever heard the name Dave Belton before day 3 came out? Or, was this a guy where when you looked up how he played, it to me personally, I think it was a great pick. Not a great pick, but it was a very good pick.
I actually don't like that. I didn't like Dane Belton going into the draft. I really didn't have him high on my board at all. I had him as a day 3 pick later in the 6th, 5th round. To me, he projects best as a really phenomenal special teams player. He's a great tackler. He plays very physical. For a 6'1", 205 pound safety. He ran a 4.4. Anyone also playing kind of in that Iowa defense is a tough defensive player. He kind of will play that hybrid kind of cash money spot role. So, but I think in the Wink Martindale system, he'll play a little better because they are very blitz heavy, and I guarantee you he'll love to bring Dave Belton through the middle. And because he's a physical player, he loves to shut people down at the line, and he likes to play in the box and likes to tackle. But personally, I see him having just a very oddly specific roles in defense and just certain schemes. I don't see him being kind of a full-time starter. Like I said, a lot of people project him to be kind of best as just a super talented special teams player. That's what I see him as. So I have this pick as a C-.
So I have it as a C plus. Wait, did I say my grade? I've been
No.
missing my grades every pick, man. I have him as a C plus. Like I said, I think it was a good pick for where it was. There was things I read where some people said it was a slight reach again, but like I've said, with every one of these picks that are seeming like slight reaches, who knows how their board looked? Like if they brought it from Buffalo, man, I'm trusting Buffalo's board way more than I'm trusting any of our scouts' boards. The one thing I did like about this pick is it's somebody who I believe Wink Martindale believes fits in his scheme. He is versatile. You're right. He's not really going to have a position. He's not going to be a full-time starter, but he's going to be rotated into whether it be a linebacker position, a guard, a tight end, whether it be a 3 safety set, or they may even throw him in the nickel and have our 3rd round pick out on the other side. He doesn't have that that quick trigger aggression like Jabril Peppers, where you just knock the socks out of
Well, to
someone.
be honest, that's what he kind of reminds me of a worse Jabril Peppers. Not good at
Nah,
coverage.
nah,
Yeah.
I get what you're saying, but I mean, to say he's not good at coverage, man, he had 12 pass deflections this past year. He was 2nd in the Big Ten in pass deflections. So
Yeah. I mean that's something for sure. I see him being more of in the box kind of safety, and I just don't really see him projecting that well. But it's really opinion. At this late in this draft, this is where you take these chances.
yep, you're not wrong. But the way I see him is, I guess we see him differently because you're saying you don't see him versatile at all. But I see him as like a jack of all trades and like a master of none, essentially. He's
Fair
not
enough.
the best
Yeah.
of anything, but you could put him a lot. And Wink Martindale loves that versatility, man.
Mm-hmm.
So C plus is what I give the grade. Now we start the first of 3 5th-round picks, 4 5th-round
3
picks,
5th-round
3
picks. Yeah.
5th-round picks.
3.
And this honestly is potentially one of the best values we had in the entire draft. I don't know if you feel the same, but from what I've read and everything I've heard, he is a project, but it's a project that down the line he most likely should have been taken a lot earlier because I did hear this name before the draft started, and he may end up being, if not a star player, he's going to be a very good serviceable player, and that is Michael Mcfadden, taken 5th round, 146 overall, Indiana linebacker. Let me hear your opinion about this kid, man, because now I'm curious since we didn't feel the same way about Belton.
I actually do love this Mcfadden pick, as I think you just said you do as well. He's a little undersized, 6'2", 240, but I mean, he had 12.5 sacks last year. He's a 2-time team captain on a decent defense. He led the team in tackles last season. They do, from what I've heard, and the people around the Hoosiers, he's a winner, and he plays to win. He plays aggressively, he plays hard. He's going to give you 110% on every play. And I think because he's so good at kind of rushing the quarterback, I think that's where he'll thrive in this role on specific kind of 3rd down roles or 2nd down roles. But I think he's someone that's going to kind of really benefit from Wink Martindale's system. And like you said, I think in a couple of years, this is a pick that we could be saying was one of the bigger steals of the draft. But it's going to be how he develops kind of as a prospect and how they use him accordingly.
Yeah, he was a guy that a lot of people had in their top hundreds. So the fact that he dropped this low was, I mean, I didn't know at the time, but after doing my research and hearing, the fact he dropped this low was actually pretty shocking. So
Yeah.
it's good to have someone who we could develop. He could not even be a starter this year, and that's perfectly fine. He can be a stud special teams guy. Like, it seems like we got a lot of guys who are going to make our special teams just stellar, which is an issue we actually have had in the
Only if
past
we
few
have Joe.
years.
Only if we still had Joe Judge, man.
I mean, it seems like they were good at first, and it seemed like they just kept getting worse and worse and worse, dude. So I don't know.
Yeah,
But as much as people don't think special teams is important, look at the Packers versus the 49ers, baby. 49ers won everything. If they can't win you every game, but special teams definitely can lose you almost every game if you
it's
don't have a
true.
good team.
It's
So
they're evil.
I do like him because he just reminds me of a linebacker, man. And if we're lucky, he could end up being the next Blake Martinez. He could be a poor man's Nakobe Dean. A lot of people were high on Nakobe Dean and wanted him day two. Uh, I'm happy we didn't go with him. And now that the injuries and everything started coming out, did I want him towards day three? Yeah, but different story for a different day. We got the people we got, and I love them because Joe Shade. But this kid also was a two-time captain in his career. So, he brings that character that I'm sure that Joe Shane and Brian Dable are looking for. So, hey, man, 3 years down the line, this kid could end up being a captain and starting middle linebacker for your New York Football Giants. So the next out of many fifth-round overall picks, which was taken the very next pick, was Arizona State defensive tackle DJ Davidson. How do you feel about this pick, man? This is actually I have rated one of the lower picks in my board. What's your opinion about this one?
I think this is another once again need pick. You need a depth among the defensive tackles and the nose guards, the nose tackles. He's a huge man at 6'3", 327 pounds. He's a very strong upper body. Uh, and I think he's going to be a kind of a run stopping specialist, which they are going to desperately need in this defense. So I think he's kind of what they needed to add for the future and for these next couple of years. He's a great depth piece, and I kind of think this was a bargain pick for him. I would rate it kind of as a probably a B- here. But I do like the pick. At 147, you really can't argue. But like I said, he's going to be a run stop specialist in the NFL and for us, and it gives us depth, so it's great.
See, I have him rated as a C, which is the lowest grade I have out of everyone on my board. The reason why I have it, you're right, it is a need pick, but I guess I'm just not a fan of him. He's if we're lucky, he is a project. He is actually the oldest draftee we had out of all the draftees this year. He is 25 years old. Uh, Average athlete for a defensive tackle, but like you say, he's a behemoth of a man at 6'3", 327. So if we're lucky, down the line, the best he could be, in my opinion, would be more like a Snacks Harrison. If we're lucky,
Mm.
Snacks really didn't do much, like you said. He just helped with the run stopping. But the good thing about that is, although he doesn't help get into the pass rush, he doesn't have pass rushing numbers. One, you limit quarterbacks running through the middle. You don't need to put the QB spy as much because you have a guy who's reactive against running. And two is those guys, even though they don't rush the quarterback, they do tend to open up lanes for the pass rushers. So if we're lucky, this guy can be just an absolute statue of man, as I call them, and he could be the next Max Harrison. I honestly, I hope so, but I just don't see it. When you're not as athletic as you should be, and you're just playing two downs, most likely on a drive, every drive, it's you get me.
Yeah, I guess I project him just kind of be a specialist, just more of a depth piece. But we're gonna need it, and like I said, but kind of getting those guys, those culture kind of depth pieces is really important for a franchise in the stage. So this was a solid pick.
Yeah, but as we said, it's all about depth here. I'm all about building something right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about today. And so, with the last fifth round pick we had of the 2022 NFL Draft, the New York Giants selected North Carolina guard Marcus Mccaten. I think I said that right.
Mccaten.
Mccaten. I'm not sure. You know me and names, but either way, this was another depth piece, man. I was actually very happy with this piece as well. You know, it is what it is. It's a guard taken at 173rd overall. He's 6'6", 340 pounds. And you can just hope down the line, if it doesn't work out with one of our guys or if somebody gets hurt, you have a guy who is good, young, you could develop, and from what I see, he has terrific strength. So you can't be mad at a 6'6", 340-pound guard, you know?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you kind of can't be mad at this pick. Like you say, he's an absolute another just monster of a human being. He's a very kind of very. I think he's deceptively quick. From what people kind of gain when he does play. North Carolina being teammates of Joshua Zuda, they had a great run game in North Carolina this year. These past 2 years, the Sam Howell was a running quarterback than the year prior. I think with this, he is more of a project than Isudu was, and more of our some of the other players in the draft. He would be a bigger project. He does excel kind of really good in a run scheme blocking, but he's definitely more of a developmental piece, and I think going to be a great find for this Giants draft team. Giants draft down the line in a couple of years. I think he's going to be kind of a plug and play guard, and he'll add a lot of depth to the line, which is great. And I would give this pick a B minus in my opinion.
I have the same grade for it. They, the thing I like about the pick is what you're hoping for is, like I said, it's a depth pick right now, but a year or two from now, next year or 2 years down the line, he's competing for one of those guard
Yeah,
positions.
serviceable. At best, he's a serviceable starter. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Depth piece down the line. And I think you can't with this pick at 173 in the fifth round of day 3. You can't ask for more, in my opinion.
Yep, you're not wrong. So, with that said, we are now in the sixth round, and that is he is our last pick, correct?
Yes, he is.
Wow, we flew through this, but time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah, right.
And with our last pick, we took Cincinnati linebacker Darion Beavers, sixth round, 182nd overall. Uh, what about this pick is, it's a sixth pick, swinging for the fences here. Linebacker who's 6'4", 237, and he's just fast, man, which is what Wink Martindale loves. Everyone knows Wink Martindale loves aggressive, loves blitzing. Uh, the numbers really weren't that high for the kid. He had 4.5 sacks last year and 11.5 tackles for loss. He's looks like a career special teamer with an occasional backup position. If he could figure out a little bit better technique, maybe. But like I said, maybe they throw him in once in a while and he just flies down the line and gets one sack or creates pressure for KT to end up getting a sack. So it's what Mick Warrendale likes. And what else are you going to get in the sixth round? I give this B minus as well.
Uh,
It's a player who is going to be a great special teamer as well.
I was actually very high on Beavers coming into the draft, playing in a very talented defensive team in college. But there were people that had him as a second round pick, as a day 2 kind of grade. And so
Oh,
for
wow.
him to slip this wide, I would consider quite the steal for the Giants. And I really love this pick. I had 98 tackles last year. He had 11 for a loss. He's a big man, 6'4", 237 pounds, and he's very quick for that size. Um, I think this was a great pick for us. I think he's going to fit our scheme well, whether they put him on the edge down low and have him rush the quarterback, or if they have him kind of sit behind Blake Martinez for a year and kind of mentor him. But I think this could be a home run draft pick late in the draft, and this was a beautiful pick for us and something I really have hope for Beavers, and I honestly think he can develop into a serviceable linebacker, if not a a good linebacker. I wouldn't say great all pro, but a good linebacker, a good starter.
So, with all that being said, Jake, uh, give the fans a reminder of what you got for each player. Actually, you know what? They heard it. Let's not repeat it. So, with all that being said, what is your overall grade for the first draft under the Joe Shane Brian Dable regime?
This is a B plus my book. Keeping in mind they didn't make sexy picks. You know what I mean? They traded back a lot. But this was a draft for the future. This is a draft where they got Daniel Jones the weapons to see what they have and for the next quarterback to come in. But this was a draft that builds franchises. And we have these people that just came in that saw great franchises be built, and they're built from the bottom up. And these are the players that are going to fill those depth roles and become serviceable players for us to kind of evolve as we try to get out of this salary cap hell. So this is a B plus in my book. Was a great depth draft for us and a great draft for the future of the Giants. And I think all Giant fans should kind of take this offseason and what they were able to do and take it in stride and just be really happy what we have going for the future.
I have a grade the same, B plus, A minus, just depending how I feel when I wake up that day. Like you said, this isn't, aside from the first day with Evan Neal and Thibodeaux, this wasn't a draft for this year. I don't expect half these players to start week one, more than half these players to start week one.
I only think Kayvon Thibodeaux and Evan Neal will be starting week 1.
Exactly. If Isudu ends up stealing, them two, and I believe Bellinger as well. I think Bellinger will be a day one, just essentially because he's the tight end, he's young, and we just need to get him reps right now because Ricky Seals Jones is he's under a 1 year contract. I don't expect him to be here permanently. So, just get the kid up and going. But like I said, every other pick aside from Thibodeaux and Evan Neal, every single one was for next year. And it does make sense because you want players that fit your scheme. And half the players on the Giants roster currently could not fit their scheme. So you want to buy these, draft these projects, and you want to buy into them. So that way you can build them up to how great. And if you see the potential and you know that you can work with it, you want to build them up to the max of their potential. For example, you look at Gabe Davis in Buffalo. Just he was a nobody the last 2 years. Then all of a sudden, just blew up this year. Him and Josh Allen were the only reason that they kept up blow for blow with Kansas City in that electric, possibly the best playoff game I've ever seen. But aside from that, that's why I understood most of these picks. And like you said earlier, it might not be sexy, but it's definitely what the Giants needed this year. So the fact that we came out with 11 players. That's a quarter, or not more than a quarter of your entire roster. And I left feeling very good about most of them. Some of them questionable, but hey, who am I? I'm just a guy with a podcast right now, and there are people with the actual notes coming from a winning organization. I'm all in, man. Trust Shane. In Shane, we trust. I'm excited this year. I don't believe we're gonna have a great year whatsoever. If we get anywhere from 4 to 6 wins, I could perfectly live with that. It's what we've been doing, yes, but I need to see those losses be competitive losses. I don't want to see no 3 quarterback sneaks in a freaking row. I need to see us. I need to see people buying into the culture, and I need to see us at least fighting until the end because that's what it is. The Giants, we lost our fight, man. We're in a dark spot, but it's seeming like we got some light coming in, man. So fingers crossed. I'm happy and I'm excited to see these players grow. And a lot of these guys seem like reaches, but hey, man, hopefully we make some magic coming.
Yeah, I mean, I think Giant fans really need to kind of settle down. It's really becoming an apparent issue in the NFL of just people being on the hot seat immediately. Like, let these guys get their guys in, get the old regime out, let them bring in their own guys, give them a year or two to set up an offense instead of having 3 offensive coordinators in 2 years and a new head coach every year. Give these guys to settle in and get their players in, and let's build something. Let's build a franchise. Let's build a franchise that could be great, not just for 1 year, but for several consecutive years. And that's what I feel like we're doing here. And I feel like Giant fans, you be patient. We're not going to be good this year by any means. Will you see better offensive and defensive schemes? Absolutely, 100%. Will you see improvement from Daniel Jones? Probably. He has a better line this year. He has better offensive weapons, and he is going to have better play calling. So I do see improvement among the team. Like I said, I don't think we're going to be contending for a Super Bowl. I don't think we're going to be contending for the division, but we're going to be better. And we need to keep the focus on the future and just trying to get out of salary cap hell right now.
Yeah, man, the future is bright. The future is bright. But with all that said, that is the end of the first ever episode of the Big Blue Bodega, your one-stop shop for everything New York Giants. This was exciting, man. This was exciting. I'm very happy that we finally got together to do this. We were talking about doing it for a while. Let's wait for some exciting moves. Right now, since it's the off season, the episodes might be a little sporadic, but every time there's moves, man, me and Jake, we're gonna come out, put these episodes out. Make sure once we get this going, you like, subscribe, follow, review, all that. But until then, please follow the Bunts and Bruises Twitter page. That's where you're gonna get all your good content, whether it's the Bunts and Bruises podcast itself or this production from the Bunts and Bruises podcast, the Big Blue Bodega. Man, Jake, it was a pleasure, my man.
Oh, yes, it
Until
was.
next time. You have a good one. All right.
Yes, you too, buddy. Much love.
Let's go. Big Blue.